Hi everyone. Today Salesforce Lightning Web Component Day 1. So let's see what are we going to learn today. We'll talk about introduction about the LWC and what is the difference between the Aura and LWC functionally, and how can I write the code, like what is the difference in writing the code in Aura and how can we write the code in LWC. What are the LWC component bundles, and we'll talk about the decorators. What are the different decorators which we have in the LWC, and how can we write, like whenever we create a LWC component, at the starting of it, what are the how the LWC JavaScript look like, and what are those keywords. We will try to understand those keywords, and then we'll have a today's interview session quickly. So LWC is nothing but Lightning Web Component. It is a new framework for the building the Lightning component. It is a new, it's a framework for building a new Lightning component. So LWC is basically a document object model. LWC is everything is depending on the document object model framework. So what is a DOM here? DOM is nothing but basically DOM is divided into document object model. So in the document, we'll write about the HTML file, XML file. In the object level, we write tags, elements of the file, and the model is nothing but a layout or a structure. So whatever the logic we are writing into the standard DOM or document object model is there, that's everything we will be, based on this framework, we will be implementing the LWC. So LWC is a document object model framework. So elements, what are the element we created through the DOM? Like by using the DOM, whatever we are implementing the LWC component, basically those are the reusable codes. Or instead of like a developer writing a lot of document code or lot of object code or lot of model code, Salesforce has given us to very easily, quickly to implement some ready-made tags. Okay, by using those tags, we can implement LWC component. So by using this, what will happen is developers, the time, or they will save the time and the effort on the web stack. So Salesforce Lightning Web Component provides additional capability, security, Lightning data service. With these, we can create the standard web components that can interact and work with the Salesforce Lightning platform. So compared to the Aura, so right now the Salesforce Web Component is providing few more additional data or few more additional capabilities like a security or a Lightning data service. By using this, what will happen is we can implement a standard web component that can interact and work with the Salesforce Lightning component. And LWC gives more option to developer to construct the application on the Salesforce Lightning platform that offers the modern technique of the web development with the better execution end user. So basically, let me give more details about the LWC. So before going into the LWC, let's understand what is the concept. What is the concept? Why the LWC was introduced? Why LWC was introduced? We were having a Lightning Aura, right? Everybody was using the Lightning Aura. Everybody was using the Lightning Aura. When it was a Lightning Aura, what is the reason that Salesforce has came up with the LWC? The reason for this, the LWC component, multiple thought process are there here. Multiple thought process. The first thought process is it introduced to move one step higher or a closer to the web standards UI. Web standards UI. So you might be aware that we have something called React UI, right? So React UI or a web standard UI, or in other scenario, when they wanted to improve the more user interface or browser improvement, like whatever is happening with the Lightning Aura, the performance issues, all this they wanted to come up with. Basically, they wanted to extend that. So by using the Lightning Web Component, we can improve the browser capability or browser improvement, and allows the developer to create their own web component that can work with the Salesforce Lightning platform. That can work with the Salesforce platform. So Lightning Aura is actually a third party. It's a third party. And by using this Lightning Aura, sometimes initial days we used to see a UI issues, or the bundle has a lot of 8 components are there, right? Component, JavaScript, helper, designer, right? Document, style. These all are the different components which we have. So it has a different bundles are available. So, and Lightning Aura was using the basic JavaScript. Lightning Aura was using the basic JavaScript. Now, by considering all of this, LWC, the Salesforce has came up with a new concept or new functionality in December 2019. In December 2019, it was like a summer 22, December 2019, or starting of the 2020. Starting of the 2020, they have came up with the LWC component. Now, by using this LWC component, we can implement any web component that can be suitable for any browser. Any browser. So Lightning Web Component is much superior than the web stack. What are the web stacks we have? So basically, we can actually find the difference between the Lightning component and web stacks. Because when you use the code in the Lightning LWC here we have a latest code which we are going to use. It is ECMA 6 and the latest one. It can be used 7, 8, 9, whatever we have the latest one. From the 6 onwards, we can use it. So Lightning Web Stack, these components are ECMA compatible. That means much superior. But on the functionality was on the efficient wise, like on extending this component to any framework, right? So we can do that. So just give me 2 minutes. Okay, so right now everybody knows that like we are using the WhatsApp, right? So WhatsApp is the one which is a free right now, which is available. But we don't know that tomorrow it might be charged. When it is charged, it might charge for some amount. It could be a 1 rupee or a 10 rupees, whatever it might be. Similarly, Lightning Aura is a third-party system, and Lightning Aura is free, which is available. Salesforce can use it. That's the reason whenever we are using the Lightning Aura, we use a tags with the starting of Aura. We use a tags which are starting of Aura. Now, tomorrow, if they start charging on, like if they start giving a price to the Aura, Lightning Aura, so what will happen that time? Or if they stopped supporting Salesforce. Suddenly Lightning Aura component, Aura is said that we are going to stop from tomorrow onward supporting the Salesforce. In that case, whatever the logic that is implemented by the developer, whatever the logic that is implemented from last 2 years or 3 years or last 5 years, whatever has been implemented, it suddenly stopped working. It suddenly stopped working. So we do not want, Salesforce does not want that kind of a situation should be happen. And moreover, they wanted to use some additional feature which is compared to the Aura, where we can, by using the latest features, they wanted to implement the new web component. So that's the reason they have came up with the Lightning web component. So I'll be covering almost everything, whatever is available till now. That means whatever is released by the Salesforce, I'll be covering all the additional concept. And whatever we are going to use it in the real time, everything I'll be covering that part.
Swapna?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to know, when we say web stack, right? So we say LWC is. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we say it's based on the web stack, right? Supports the current web stack. So what exactly is the web stack? Can you just explain?
You have worked on JavaScript, right, Archana?
Yes.
So when you have worked on JavaScript, you might heard about the React UI or some kind of a web components that we basically the user interface. Like by using the React UI, you can build a rich UI content, right?
Yes.
So what React UI uses is they use the latest web component. That means in order to build the UI part, they will use the HTML along with that DOM, and they will use the JavaScript, latest JavaScript. Combination.
You mean the ECMA?
Yeah.
You mean the ECMA script?
Yes.
ES6. Okay.
So combination of all this, they are able to implement very good UI, right? Compared to the Lightning Aura, their UI looks similar to the Lightning Web Component. And one more thing is that when we say web component is basically open source. If I implement any Lightning component, we want that logic should be supported for any browser. If I take a Chrome or anything which I take, it should be supported. Right? If I use a very old JavaScript in the Lightning Aura, those components or those logic might not work with some browser because of the compatibility of the browser. So these all will be considered. Based on considering all these issues, the Salesforce has came up with the LWC.
So is it possible to include React file or whatever, React library in LWC? Is that possible?
Libraries, we can include it. Like what are the libraries we want, we can include it. That is possible.
Okay. Thanks.
And in order to implement the Lightning Web Component, we need to set up the Salesforce DX and VS Code. And we have done the Visual Studio. Last session, whoever is attended my session, we have set up the Visual Studio as well as the Salesforce DX, SFDX, everything is installed. Salesforce CLI, everything is installed. So in Salesforce right now, whenever we go to the developer console, we cannot implement LWC components in the developer console. We can implement only the Lightning Aura, but there is no option to create a LWC component. Now, if I click on File, New, I cannot see the LWC option here. LWC option is not available. Only there is a Lightning application components, I can create it. So that's the reason whenever we are working on the LWC, most of the times we will work in the Visual Studio. Most of the time we will implement the LWC in the Visual Studio, and then we will deploy the logic into the Salesforce. Now, let's take a understand in compared to Aura, what is the differences between the Aura and LWC. So in Aura, we use Aura framework. Whatever the logic that I write it, everything starts with the Aura tag, Aura colon component, right? So starts with the Aura colon component, and then we will include lightning input, lightning button, all those buttons we will include within the Aura framework. Now in the LWC, it uses the DOM framework. Everything related to document object model. Everything related to document object model. Now in Aura, whatever the logic that we are writing it supports the ECMA5, which is a very basic standard JavaScript framework. Uses a standardized JavaScript framework. And LWC, it uses the updated one, starting with ECMA 7, 8, 9. Now here, what is the ECMA? Everybody is saying that this uses the 5, this uses the 7, 6, 8. Now what is the ECMA here? ECMA is similar to the, let's take one example. Like whenever you're traveling by vehicle, four-wheeler vehicle on ORR in Hyderabad, whenever you are travel by ORR or anywhere, so you will be seeing that there is a one vehicle which is standing with the pollution check. Pollution check. So basically the government will have a certain policies or certain restrictions are there. So how much pollution or everything they will cross verify, and they will place that, right? So what are the card is there or whatever is happening, they will check everything with the vehicle, right? So here also ECMA is standard. It's a web standard component. Any web component, you take any web component that has to follow the certain guideline, which is provided by the ECMA. ECMA is nothing but European computer. So ECMA is nothing but European Computer Manufacturers Association. European Computer Manufacturer Association.
Ma'am, it's like an organization.
Yes, it is like an organization or it is like a union. So what they will do is they will define some guidelines. They will define a guideline. So what is the 5 should be having the guideline? So what is the 7 should be having the guideline? So they will decide, this organization or this union or this group will define a guideline where everybody has to follow that guideline. Whoever is using this European Computer Manufacturing Association, whether it is a 5, whether it is a 7, 8, based on that 7, based on that 5, what are the guidelines are there? Everybody has to use that guideline. Right? So basically LWC is ECMA 7 compatible. That means the highest and standard, what are the highest standard guidelines are there, which can be supported to the LWC. And Aura is where it is compatible with 5. Now, Aura component cannot be used inside the LWC. We cannot use the Aura inside the LWC, but LWC can be included within the Aura. LWC can be included within the Aura. Let's assume that I am implementing a Aura component. Let's assume Aura is implemented long back. 5 years back, the Aura component is implemented. Now we got an additional feature on top of it, Now I have implemented the LWC component. Now I have implemented the LWC component. But this component needs input from the Aura, because this component is implemented 5 years back. I don't want to remodify, or I don't want to change anything. Instead of changing this, whatever the new feature that client has given, that I have implemented in LWC. In that case, what I can do is I can call that particular Lightning Web component piece within the Aura, so that whatever my existing functionality is there, it will continue working the existing functionality. Along with that, whatever we have implemented in LWC, that is also will be working. That is also working. And Aura uses the application event to communicate between the components. Like we have a component event, also different events are available. But let's assume that I wanted to communicate between the some component sitting in the different place, parent 1, and another component is parent 2. In order to communicate between the parent 1 and parent 2, so I'm using the application event in the Aura. But in LWC, we do not have a application event or component event, not there. So in LWC, we have a concept called message service, Lightning message service. By using the Lightning message service, we can communicate between the two components. Instead, here in the LWC, we have a concept called Lightning message service. So whenever we want two components to be communicated, then we use the Lightning message service. Now LWC and Lightning Aura can coexist in the single application. That means I have a Lightning application. This is my Lightning application. This is Lightning application. Within the Lightning application, I can include some part Aura. Also, I can include some part LWC. That means within the Aura component, Aura is within the application. Now, Aura and LWC can be included in the same application. Can be included in the same application. So that means LWC and Aura can used in the same, and also if I wanted to pass the data from Aura to LWC, I can pass it. From the application to LWC, I can pass it, but it cannot go back from the LWC Aura, I cannot do. Right? Now LWC consists of 4 elements. 4 elements. If I have to implement a LWC component, then I should understand these 4 elements. The first one is a custom element. The first one is a custom elements, and then templates, shadow DOM, and module. Custom element is basically, this custom element is nothing but it's a structure, or it's kind of a design of the element where you are designing it, where you are designing your element or structuring into the right foundation. Kind of a HTML tags, whatever you write it. So those are the custom elements. Template is also nothing but a design part of the Lightning Web component. It's a design part of the Lightning Web component. In the Lightning Web component, whenever you create a Lightning Web component, it always starts with a template. Like in the Aura, it starts with Aura : component, right? In the LWC, it always starts with a template. So whenever you create a new Lightning Web component, it always starts with a template and it closes with the template. So whatever you wanted to design it, you can design within this. And shadow DOM is nothing but combining the design and style. Combining the design and style. So basically, when I say design and style, is is nothing but basically it's a encapsulation. So with the shadow DOM is nothing but this is the structure or a foundation or a design of the element, or a custom element is nothing but a structure. So here shadow DOM is nothing but where I'm merging both of them, design and styling. Everything I'm placing into one capsule. So encapsulate is nothing but it's a simple to understand. Let's divide this as a 2 words. So here I have a capsule. Here I have a capsule. So let's understand this capsule. So capsule is nothing but like in medical term, when you say capsule, in like a medicine, they will give a capsule. So there are 3 ways in the medicine. Like if you want to take a medicine, you can take a liquid directly, or you can take orally, right? Or whatever, like whether it is a liquid or orally. So if it is a liquid is better, liquid is taste is not good for kids, especially for the kids. If the liquid is not good, or it is a bitter, or it's kind of a chemical, something is there. So what they will do is, what are the tablet that we are using it, they combine everything. They combine everything. If the tablet they will put everything, like a plastic capsule will be there. So they put the medicine inside the capsule so that it does not react with the water or air or whatever the outside environment. There are some medicines are there, basically that will be reacted with the water or an outside environment. If we do not want, if the medicine should not be reacted with the if the medicine should not be reacted with the air or outside the environment. So what they will do is they will put everything inside it and they will close that medicine. So that what will happen is it is protected there. It is protected. So nothing is going to harm for that medicine. So similarly, the same concept will be applied into shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is nothing but combining the design and style together. Now I'm combining all the design and style together so that everything will be placed. If I wanted to use the shadow DOM, I can use directly that the predefined shadow DOM, I can use it and I can call them. And the next one is a module. Module is nothing but a JavaScript in the LWC component. Like whatever the JavaScript logic which we are writing it, it's called as a module in the LWC. It's a controller part of the LWC. Now, whenever we create a LWC component, the bundle for the LWC component is template. It will create a template. It will create a module. It will create a target. And then style, we have to create it. So as soon as you create a LWC component, you will see bundle of template, module, target. Only 3 components. Only 3 components you will see. Only 3 components you will see. Now let's take an example of now. Now let me go to the LWC. Right click on this, create a Lightning Web component. LWC underscore template. So whenever you are creating the LWC component, always use the small letters. The name of the LWC component, always use the small letters or start with the small letters. So LWC underscore template. Now I have created the LWC component. Whenever the LWC component is created, I can see template, HTML, and I can see module, which is a JavaScript. Then I can see the target. So module, so here template is nothing but a .html. HTML. The first component is .html. This is a template. Now module is nothing. So template is nothing but a .html, which is nothing but a where I am building the UI or designing the UI, or I'm like building the table, or I'm adding some input fields, buttons, whatever I'm doing in the HTML component, everything I can build into the template.html. So template is the component where I can build all the UI part of it. So which is nothing but in the Aura term, Lightning Aura term, it is a Lightning component. Whenever we are creating the Lightning Aura, so the first component is Lightning component. So whatever we are doing in the Lightning component in Aura, exactly same we will be doing into the template. Like I'll be adding the Lightning card, I'll be adding the Lightning input, Lightning button, right table, whatever I wanted to use, Aura iteration, Aura if, whatever is required for the designing the UI, everything I'll be implementing in the template. Now the next one is a module. Module is nothing but a .js. Module is nothing but a .js. So it's a JavaScript. The second one is .js, that is module. So in this module, I'll be writing all the JavaScript logic. Could be a client-side server, or could be some calculation or an error message, whatever I wanted to perform in the JavaScript end, I can do everything into the module. So in terms of the Lightning Aura, like a JavaScript controller, helper, re-render, whatever we have written the logic, like whenever I wanted to call the Apex controller, we have written the logic in the helper. If I'm doing any calculation or a client-side logic, if I'm implementing, I was implementing in the JavaScript controller, right? So everything can be combined and I can place it into the .js. There is no separate helper, there is no separate JavaScript. Everything we can write it into the module. Everything we can write it into the module. The next one is a target. The next one is target. So target is .js hyphen meta.xml. .js hyphen meta.xml. So this is basically target is nothing but location. Target, where do you want to place this component? Where do you want to place this component? Like if you remember, whenever we were creating the Lightning Aura component, during the creation of the Lightning Aura component, there were checkboxes. There were checkboxes. For example, if I'm creating the Lightning component here, whenever I'm creating the Lightning component, here I have a checkboxes. What are these checkboxes here? Where should I need to place it? Do I want to place it in the record page? Do I need to place it into the Lightning page? Or do I need to use it for the tab? Do I need to use it for the quick action? Or, right, these all information we have. If I select it, what will happen? Interface is automatically implemented in the Lightning Aura. Similarly, if you want to use that concept in the LWC, we use a target. So in the Lightning Aura component, we use a implement flexi card, or the use for the record page, home page, or application, all those things we were mentioning there, right? So what will happen is in LWC, those concept is sitting into the here, target. This is a target. .js hyphen meta.xml. Now here we have a concept. We will see that how to add those targets, but we use all the interfaces where to place the LWC component, whether it is a record page, home page, or application page, everything can be decided inside the target. Now the next one is a style. Style, you cannot see here style. You cannot see the style here, but you have an option to add a style. So what you can do is you can right click on this and you can create your own component. So we will see that. So we will be creating the CSS here. We will be creating the CSS. So right click on this. create a new file, LWC underscore template dot CSS dot CSS. So this is the style. Style by default will not be added by the LWC. We have to create it manually. Style is manually we have to create it. It's a dot CSS and it's like a in Aura component it is like a styles. What are the styles we are adding it in the CSS? The same thing we can add it in the LWC also. See, that's how everything is converted and made it as a very simple in the Lightning Web component with the less component with the less component or with the whatever the bundle is there. This bundle has a very few components: template, module, target, style. Right? So mostly in the real time, you will be focusing on these two: template and module. Template and module. Target is it's a just for a 1 or 3 lines of a code. 3 lines of a code. It's basically deciding it where you want to place this. Like if I wanted to use into the lightning layout, if I wanted to use the LWC in the flexi page, now how can I bring this LWC component into the flexi page? That is the 3 lines of code which we have to write it. And CSS is if you need it, you can write it. But mostly for the coding purpose, we use template and module. Only these 2 components we use it. Right? So whatever we are doing it with the Lightning Aura component, everything we can implement is using the LWC. And on that, we have a additional features or additional latest high standards. We can use it by using the high standards. We can implement the LWC. Now we have understood overall differences between the Aura and LWC. What is the LWC is contains. But when I write a code in the Aura, when I write a code in the LWC, how it is going to be different? How it is going to be the difference? Am I using the same LWC same Aura components in LWC, or is it a different tags? Now, whatever I have learned, so we have spent learning, like we have learned all the tags in the Aura. Now, whatever I have learned the tags, lightning tags, can I reuse the tags into the LWC? Does that help me in reusing the LWC? Let's see. Okay, so today few members joined newly. Are you guys are aware of the Aura? Jai, Swaroop. Okay, so you guys know the Aura. Good. So now we'll see what is the difference in the code in the Aura and LWC. Now in Aura, if you remember, whenever I'm starting the Aura component, like whenever I create a Aura component, it always starts with Aura colon component and end with Aura colon component. Okay. Here LWC component, by default, it starts with the template. By default, it starts with the template. So template, open template, and the close template. Open template, close template. It starts with open template and close template. Now, Aura colon attribute. Aura colon. Now, if I wanted to define an attribute in the Aura component, then we use Aura colon attribute name equal to ACC name, and then we can add a data type, and then we can add a description, right? This is how I declare the attribute in the Aura. Now, how can I declare the attribute in the LWC? We do not have a Aura attribute declaration in LWC. The reason is it's a Aura component because it's a Aura tag. It is a Aura tag. If you look at this, this is the Aura tag. Now in Aura, we are using, in order to declare the attribute, we are using the Aura colon attribute. Now what should I need to use it in the LWC? LWC, you just need to use a decorator. We need to use a decorator. Mostly we will be using the @API. @API. That means if I use @API, ACC name is nothing but that particular attribute or that particular variable can be used public. That is a public property, right? That can be used by any other member. That can be used by any member within the LWC component. Or if somebody child component wants to call that particular attribute, like a child component wants to call the ACC name, then they can use it. If I say @API is nothing but a public property. @API is nothing but a public property. So the declaration will be @API. Now, in Lightning Aura, we do not have something called private attribute declaration or public attribute declaration. We do not have in the Aura. We do not have in the Aura. Just a straightforward Aura colon attribute name equal to ACC name. But when it is coming to the LWC, it is divided. The declaration of the attribute or the declaration of the variable is divided. So it has a private, it has a public. It has a private and it has a public. Private is nothing but if you declare anything with the private here, only this component can be accessed. Only this component can be accessed. If the child component or whoever wants to, other component wants to call this particular or pass the data to this attribute which is having the private, they cannot access. If I say public, that means everybody can access it. Now we will see what are those. But the declaration will be @API ACC name. Now, if I declare this attribute, if I wanted to call this attribute within the Lightning component, that means in the HTML, I wanted to print the value of this attribute. If I wanted to print the value of this attribute, we used it curly braces exclamation V dot and then attribute name. This is how we used in the Aura. This is how we used in Aura. Now, when it is come to the LWC, it's just a simple straightforward curly braces ACC name. There is no escalation. There is no V dot. You do not have a escalation. V dot is not available in the This is not available in the LWC. You do not have this. You do not have this. Directly curly braces, just call that attribute. In the HTML. This is in HTML. In the HTML, if I wanted to show the value of specific attribute, you just use in the LWC curly braces and then attribute name. Attribute name. So just using that, we can display the value of the attribute, value of the variable. Now, this is in the HTML. Now coming to the controller side. In the controller, if I wanted to get the value of this attribute, or if I wanted to set, let's assume that if I wanted to set the value to this, right? So we use a component.set v.acc name, comma, then we will give a new value here. If I wanted to set the new value to the ACC name, I use a component.set and within that I'll specify v.acc name, comma, whatever the value is there, we will pass that value to this particular attribute. Now this is a set. I am setting the new value to the attribute. In LWC, if you want to set new value to the attribute, we use this dot. We use this dot. In LWC, we use this dot. In the controller, this is. In the HTML, directly I can use curly braces ACC name. But in the controller, if I wanted to set any value to this particular attribute, if I wanted to set ACC name equal to, now I wanted to set here ACC name equal to right? Salesforce. I wanted to set this value, ACC name equal to Salesforce. How can I do that? This dot ACC name equal to Salesforce. This is how I'll define it. This is how I'll define this dot ACC name equal to Salesforce, which is similar to component dot set v dot ACC name comma the Salesforce text. Right? In LWC, we do not have a component dot set or a component dot get. We will see how we can do the component dot get, but we do not have a component dot set in the LWC. It's not there. If you want to set a value to the variable, or if you want certain data to the attribute or to the variable, then you will use this dot ACC name. This dot ACC name equal to Salesforce. Now, coming to the component dot get, if you wanted to get, you will simply say component dot get v dot account name. This is in the controller. Now, if you want to get the attribute value in LWC, what we say is event dot target dot value. It's a standard. Event dot target dot value. Event dot target dot value. Because in LWC, whatever the actions are happening, like you are entering the data, or user is entering the data, or user is clicking on the button, or user is doing some action there, everything is considered in the LWC as an event. Whatever we do, everything is considered as an event. I have an input text field. Now I'm entering the data here, which is also event in the LWC. This is an on-change event, right? So everything we will consider as an event. So event dot target dot value. Event dot target dot value. Now the next one, we have a tags in the Auram, like a lightning colon input, lightning colon button, lightning colon formatted text, or lightning colon card, right? And lightning colon button, or lightning colon layout, lightning colon layout item. There are many attributes are there. So I'm just taking the one example here, lightning colon formatted text. Now the same I can use it in LWC, but replace the colon with the hyphen. Replace the colon with the hyphen, and wherever you see capital letter is there, it will be converted as a small letter, and then before that it is adding the hyphen. That means here in Auram, I have a lightning input. Here I have a lightning colon input. Now, after colon, do I have any capital letter? There is no capital letter. So in that case, so lightning hyphen input. That's it. Now we have a lightning layout. Let's take a lightning layout item. Lightning colon layout item. Now, here after colon, is there any capital? Yes, there is one capital is there. So that capital will be converted into this small letter, and there will be hyphen is added. So which is nothing but lightning hyphen layout hyphen item, right? So it will convert but the functionality, feature, the way of working, everything is same. What is the expected output of the lightning input, or lightning layout, or lightning layout item, lightning button? What are the expected is there? The same expectation will be worked with the LWC also. Okay, only the difference is the way of declaration. Even with the attributes also. If you have an attribute here in the formatted text, attributes are with all the small letters, I can directly use all the small letters directly here. Now, if I have anything starting with a capital letter, what will happen is LWC will be converted into the small letter, and before that it will be added to the hyphen, right? Now, Aura iteration. Now here we are using, in order to loop through the collection of items, I'm using the Aura iteration. This is a Aura tag. If I wanted to loop through the collection of items, for example, I have a 10 account records. I have a 10 account records. Now this 10 account records, I need to loop through these 10 record accounts and display those records in the table format. Display those records in the table format. For this, what I'll be doing is I'll be looping through this by using the Aura colon iteration. By using the Aura colon iteration. So whenever I'm looping through this, now each one, like inside this, each record I'll be taking from the collection and displaying that record here. Now same functionality, how can we do it in the LWC? In LWC, we have a for each. In LWC, we have a for each. Now the next one is condition. In Aura, we have a Aura if is equal to true, whether the condition is true or not. I can cross verify by using the Aura colon if. Whereas in LWC, we have a directly if colon true. If colon true. So they have removed this Aura and they have removed this. Instead of this, what they have done is if colon true. If colon true, if colon false. Both of them is basically the condition that how we will be using in the HTML in order to check the condition if colon true, if colon false. These are the some of the things which we are using in LWC. The only difference is the way of writing code is different, like whatever the tags you have used it, right? So the same tags can be applicable in the LWC also, right? Whatever the expected output, what are the expected input for that lightning tag, same thing will be same. Now, in order to declare this attribute, in order to declare the attribute, we have a concept called in the LWC decorators. We have a concept called decorators. So there are 3 decorators in the LWC. One is @API. @API is nothing but if you want to create an attribute, if you want to create a public property, if you want to create an attribute as a public property, you use @API. And the example, @API email address. And the second one is @track. @track. As per the documentation, we are using the @track. But if you want, basically for the @track is used to define. If you wanted to observe the changes that are happening within that particular attribute. If you want to tell the framework what are the changes that are happening with this property of an object, then I use a @track. @track. Now, @wire is nothing but in order to call the data, in order to bring the data. In order to bring the data. When I say bringing the Salesforce data, could be possible that I'm directly bringing the data from database.com. Directly I'm bringing to the LWC. It is possible that in between I'm using the Apex. In between I'm using the Apex. By using the Apex also, I can bring the data. So @wire, mostly we will use it to bring the data from Apex. Whenever you wanted to call Apex class, what we will do is we use a @wire. @wire, and then we call the Apex class, and that particular method we will call it. Particular method we will call it. Now, just observe here. HTML is a straightforward. It has a template, open template and the close template. Now this is clear. But look at the JavaScript. Look at the JavaScript. JavaScript says by default it is giving me the 2 lines. By default it is giving me the 2 lines. Now what is these 2 lines here? What is this 2 lines? One it says import, one says export. One says import, one says export. Now by default, whenever I create a Lightning Web component, JavaScript is displaying by default import and export. By default, it is displaying me the import and export. Now import is nothing but importing the references of the Salesforce object or a fields. That means I have a LWC here. That means I have a LWC here. Okay. Possible that I wanted to import Salesforce object. We have a objects here, custom object, standard object, everything is available inside the Salesforce. Inside the Salesforce, I have a custom object, or standard object. Right? Now I wanted to bring this object within this LWC, or I have a pick list field within the custom object. Assume that status field. I have a pick list field called status field. Now I wanted to bring this status field value, pick list field values, I wanted to bring it to the LWC because based on this status, I'm performing some logic in the LWC. Now, in order to bring this particular field of the object inside the LWC, we use import. That means I'm importing the Salesforce object or Salesforce fields inside it, inside the LWC. Not only the Salesforce object and fields. I wanted to import ID. I wanted to import a specific ID. Let's assume we have a global variables. We have a global variables. What are the global variables we have? Global objects we have.
User resource.
User is a global object. Now, if you wanted to bring a global object user, right? You can bring the data. Like I wanted to display whoever is the logged in user is there. Whoever is the logged in user is there. The logged in user details, I wanted to print it onto the LWC. Now, without calling the Apex class, if I wanted to bring the data of the user object to the LWC, I can use import, and there is a certain way of a declaration in order to import it. First, it says that @Salesforce. @Salesforce. There is an annotation called @Salesforce. Is nothing but I'm hitting the Salesforce org. Within the Salesforce org, @Salesforce. @Salesforce is nothing but I'm hitting the Salesforce org. Within the Salesforce org, I have a schema. The schema builder. I have a schema. Inside this schema builder, I have a certain objects. User is also object here. Whatever the objects that are available within the schema, if I wanted to bring those objects inside the LWC, I need to follow this standard way of declaration. Example, syntax is import. You can give any name. So here object name is, it's a kind of a, you can give any name of the object. And then from, you are specifying the @Salesforce schema / object, name of the object. Name of the object. That means import. For example, I wanted to bring a position object details to the into the LWC. So what I'll use, import. I have just given a name to it. The name which I have given is position object. If you do not want the position object, if you want to give another name, you can give it, no problem. From in the quotation, @Salesforce /schema / position. Position object details, I wanted to bring it to the LWC. Position object details, I wanted to bring it to the LWC. Now the second one, if I wanted to bring account object details, account object, right? So that account object, import account object is the object name from @Salesforce /schema / account. Schema / account. Now, if any object you can give here, if you have an object, for example, you have installed the package. You have installed a package here. There is a package that you have installed. Assume that unmanaged package. Unmanaged package you have installed within the Salesforce. When you install this package, that package is also given some objects. That package is also have a few objects. Now, if you wanted to call those package objects within the LWC, so what we have to do is, for this package, there is always a namespace. For this package, there is always namespace. You can view that whenever you install a package and go to the installed, and you can view that what is the namespace that is available for this package. For example, here the namespace is available is PAC. PAC is the namespace. So PAC dot, that package has customer object. So PAC dot customer object. Like this, you have to use it. Like this, you have to use it in case if you want other object details also. If it is within the Salesforce, like directly you have created an object, you can directly call it without namespace. Without namespace, you can directly call it. Now, this is how you call the object, Salesforce schema object within the LWC. Within the LWC. Now, if you
Like,
specific, sorry,
like in Aura, we don't do all these things, right? Like we can directly fetch that account position underscore C. Like we can directly use in that way, right?
yes.
In Aura, but
Yeah.
here we need to use all these things. Import.
Yes.
Okay.
So in case if you wanted to bring the field, in case if you wanted to bring the field of the any of this object, then what you have to do is schema / account dot name. In the position, I have a position status, right? Position status field, I wanted to bring it to the LWC. So position _ C dot position status. Now, in case if you wanted to bring a apex, so far what we have discussed is schema. Now there is a possibility, the possibility is that I wanted to call the apex class. I wanted to call the apex class. Now here, whenever you wanted to call the apex class, inside the apex class, I have a method. Now I wanted to call this method within the LWC. Whenever you wanted to call a method inside the LWC, then we should not be using the schema there. We should not be using the schema. We should be using the apex. So @Salesforce, definitely this will not change. So this is a master. Okay, so in this master, you have a apex. In this master, you have a apex. So Salesforce, @Salesforce apex / class name dot method name. So that means . Now, here in the import, I have on high level, we have a schema, we have a @Salesforce. This is as it is. I'm not going to change the base of it. Once I have written the @Salesforce, within that I have two components are available. Now you decide which component to be used. If you want to call the object, then you have to use the schema. If you want to call the apex, then you have to use the apex. Through the schema, you can call all the objects. Objects is nothing but either custom object or a standard object, you can call it. Even the fields also, custom fields, standard fields, you can call it. Custom fields, standard fields, you can call it. Apex, using this, you can call the method in specific apex class if you want to call a specific method. For example, apex has 5 methods. Out of that 5 method, you wanted to call the first one. In that case, you have to use @Salesforce /apex/ then you have to use the apex class name dot method. Similar to this, like assume that I have a class called account helper dot create account.
Swapna,
yeah.
I'm having one question. Can I call a non-static method also through the Salesforce /apex?
So basically, okay, let me ask this question. In case if you want to call a method within the Aura, if you want to call a method, what needs to be done on the method side?
We have to give access module static, or if that is a static method, we have to put static and return type, method name, input parameters.
Right. So on top of method, do we mention anything?
Aura enabled.
Same logic applies here also.
Okay.
Same logic applies here. Calling the apex and what are the return type, everything we are doing it through that method, which is the same. There is no difference calling the or apex method passing the data to the Aura and LWC.
Thanks.
What is the use of wire @wire?
@wire is if you want to call apex class, okay. In that case, we use the @wire. Basically, I'm calling here apex class. Now, once I call the apex method, I'm calling it class.method. Where I'm storing into a field here. Assume that this is an attribute. Now, what is this containing? This is containing some list of information or a collection of information. Could be a positive result, could be an error result. That means could be a success result, could be an error result. Whatever it could be, whether it is a success or whether it is an error, everything will be stored in this variable. Now I need to use this variable inside the JavaScript and check what is the output of this. Okay, you will not get the direct output here. So by using the @wire, what you will do is you will bring this variable inside the @wire and you check whether this output of this is having the proper data is there or does it have an error. If it has a data, okay, is the data is a collection. Do I really need a collection in the HTML? For example, I'm printing the data in the table format. Now, do I need a collection here? Okay. Now, assume that inside this data, I wanted to separate each object. Assume that I have an account table, I have a contact table, right? So And there is a also input field is there. Input field is there. Okay, lightning data table is not the right example. Let's assume that I have a data that I'm displaying here. I'm displaying the first name, last name, contact first name, contact last name, contact email, which I'm printing it here, displaying this information, and below that I have a data table. Below this I have a table. Now this table is fine. This table is directly, I can bring the collection of list of the information and I can pass it perfectly fine. But here I have a individual fields that I'm printing here. Individual fields, when we have it, okay, the first thing is we cannot directly pass the information there. I need to check in the JavaScript whether this particular variable or this particular attribute has return value is a success value of the data or the return value of the error. If it is an error, what is the error? Show that error to the on the UI. If it is a data, collect that data and store that data into the a property. Could be a public property, could be a private property. That means you are doing a more customization here. Like I cannot bring directly and push it here. Like in terms of Lightning Aura, in Lightning Aura, I'm calling the Apex method. Okay. I'm calling the Apex method and then we are checking the result, whether my result response dot get result, right? So whether my result is, I'm checking whether my result is having the proper data or not. So what I'm doing here, I'm checking if result is not equal to null or result is not a successful, or if it is result is successful, then I'm storing this data into one attribute, right? Similarly, here also, once I get the data from method, I need to check what is the output of this. Do I have any value? So in order to check what is the output of this, we need a @while.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Swapna?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, in Aura, we have something called standard controller, custom controller, standard list controller, right? So now when you say @Salesforce schema and you specify directly the object name, right? So it corresponds to the controller, what we say Apex, we say controller attribute and write the controller, right? Hello?
Can you explain it? What is the standard controller, custom controller?
Yeah, so we have something called standard controller, custom controller, standard list controller also, right? For pagination, correct? Yeah, in Visual Force. So like when in here, when you say @Apex, schema and you give the object name, correct? So that means you get all the, what you say,
right.
All the methods like what you get in the standard controller, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So now if I have a custom controller, okay, then how do I specify that? Or I have a list controller, how do I specify that?
This is the custom controller.
This way, Apex.
Yeah.
With the Apex. Okay.
Okay. So standard controller, custom controllers are not in the Aura, it is in the Visual Force. So, right. So in the Aura, we used to have a data table. By using the data table, just passing the record ID, I can bring entire fields, or by just specifying the object, I can bring all the fields information. So similarly here also, I can pass the fields, or directly I can pass the fields, directly I can pass the object, or if I want a kind of custom implementation, the logic, business logic I wanted to call, I can call the business logic. Now, that's how we use the import. That is the first one is import. Now by default here, another import which I have, import lightning element from LWC. Whatever we have discussed import standard object, custom object, or Apex class. But here I have something called import lightning element from LWC. That means in the LWC, there is in LWC, Salesforce has given a by default a few elements that they are given us, right, to use it. They have given to use few elements like for example, you are using the JavaScript elements, or you are using some LWC events. You will be writing some logic inside this code. So whenever you are using those elements, we must need to have this import lightning element. Import lightning element. If you do not specify lightning element, basically you will not be able to save in another way. For example, so far we have seen the property, declaratives, right? So declarative, I have a @API, @API, and I have email address, right? So if I specify this, it will not accept it. It will not accept, it will give an error, because you first need to import this property, import this decorator, then start using it. Any decorator, whether it is a @API, or whether it is a @wire, or whether it is a @track, whatever you are using it, first you import it. First you import it, then only the logic will be working. Just writing here, it will not work. Whatever the functionality or the code which is written behind the @API. So Salesforce has written so much of logic behind this decorator. Behind this decorator, Salesforce has written lot of logic. So we are just saying that @API. Okay, but there is a lot of things which are happening at the backend. If you want the logic should be executed, right? Whatever the expected output of the @API, @wire, @track, if you want the expected output should be there, then what you have to do is you have to first import it. First import it, @API. First you have to import it, @wire. So these are the LWC. From the LWC, I'm importing it. From the LWC, I'm importing it. So first you import everything, whatever you are going to use it in the while writing the logic. Then what you can do is, then you can go ahead and use it. Then you can go ahead and use those, whatever the expected output is there or expected functionality is there, then it will work the functionality. So those needs to be imported. Okay, so that's about the import. Now the second one which we have is export. The second one which we have a export. Now if you observe here, export default class, and then the class name, and then the class name. Class name is nothing but LWC component. What I am doing is I am extending the lightning element. I am extending the lightning element. Now what it is doing actually, I am exporting the class, right? This LWC, whatever we are writing it inside this logic, inside this, whatever we are writing the logic here, even in the component, what are the logic we are writing it, we are going to export that class, this LWC template class, which is nothing but a complete LWC bundle with the extends keyword lightning element. That means if somebody wants to use this LWC component, if somebody wants to use this LWC component, they can use it because I'm already exporting it. And while exporting, I'm saying that extends. That means if you remember, whenever we are writing the lightning Aura application, whenever I'm placing the lightning component within the Aura application, we use a extends equal to SLDS:force. I'm extending the SLDS features on top of the lightning component so that whenever I click on a preview on the lightning Aura application, right? So on the Aura application, what will happen by default, all the SLDS features will be reflected on top of the lightning component. So I can see the exact same view of the what are the Salesforce is available. Similarly, here also same thing. Extends is nothing but, so similarly here also extend is same. Now export default class is nothing but exporting the default, or we are exporting whether it is a single module or a multiple modules, or whether I have written the expression, or whether I have written the variable, or I have written the multiple methods, functions from the JavaScript. I'm exporting those all things so that it can be accessed or it can be used in any other file. Could be another LWC, could be another Aura component, could be a Lightning Aura, could be any component can be used this LWC component by applying the Lightning elements, whatever the latest Lightning elements we have used inside the implementing the program. I'm just extending that, right? Everything can be accessible. So that's the reason in LWC, whenever we write any logic, we write only within the export. We don't write a logic here, or we don't write a logic outside of it. Outside, we do not write it. We always write, could be any logic, variable, declaration, function, method, or a whatever the logic you are writing in the LWC, everything is written inside the export. We don't write any logic here or above the import. We don't write, because this is the use. Like I wanted to export that class, whatever the Lightning LWC class is there, I wanted to export that class by extending the Lightning element so that anybody can call this LWC component and they can simply use all the features of the LWC. Right? Now, let's see one example. Now we have created a Lightning component. Now let's take a sample one which I'm going to create right now. What I'll do is, I'll go to the HTML. Now in the HTML, I have assume that I'm going to use the Lightning card. Usually if I have to write a Lightning card, Lightning : card, right? But instead of that, what I'll be using is, now Visual Studio already gives you the information, Lightning : I need a hyphen card. Instead of a colon, I'm using a hyphen. Lightning : card. Now inside this, I have an attribute called title. Same, I'll be using it. So I'll say that this is LWC component. LWC component. We have other attributes also. If you want, you can use it. Now another attribute in the Lightning card, which says that icon name. But instead of here, icon name is name, N is starting with capital. N is starting with capital. Now, whenever you are using the attribute of the Lightning card, that attribute is going to work in the Aura. So you know how to use the attribute in the Aura. Now, same attribute, if you are trying to use it here, Visual Studio is giving you alert. The right one is use the icon hyphen name. Icon hyphen name. So you can use this. Now, what are the different attributes? What are the different one are there? You can use all of them. So even for the attribute also, it has a, wherever the capital letter is there, it has a hyphen. Okay. Now let's say that I'm going to use the standard icon. So you guys know that what are the icons where we can see. So I'm using the standard icon, standard account. Now within this Lightning card, within the Lightning card, I'll simply place a button. Lightning : button, which I know. But in LWC, wherever the colon is there, hyphen, I need to use button. Now I have this option here, button. Closing it. Now inside this button, we have a attributes label equal to, let's say this is a submit. Let's say this is submit. And also we have a on click available. So in the Aura, on click, how we will write it? Exclamation C dot handle submit. This is how we write it. But in LW, sorry.
ना सकयल मॅडम म्हाका आदिल्ल्यातली जाय आशिल्ली म्हणून म्हणटा.
So here in LWC, we do not need any of this. Exclamation C dot. We do not need any of this. Handle submit. Just simple handle submit. You do not need to call any other thing, and there is no this double quotes. No double quotes. Lightning hyphen button label. I'm giving a submit. On click handle submit. That's it. Now I'm done with my component. I'm done with my component. I have saved the component. Now, whenever the user click on this button, I wanted to show alert message. Whenever user click on this button, I wanted to show alert message. Now, within the export, I'll be using that function, and this always has event. There is no component, there is no helper, nothing, just an event. And apart from the event, if you want to pass anything, you can pass it. But here by default, only one parameter, which is called event. In the Aura, we have a 3 parameters: component, helper, event. But here only one parameter, which is a event. Because we do not have a component, we do not have a helper in LWC. Everything is treated as an event. Whatever we are performing on the HTML component, everything is treated as an event. Now, I wanted to give an alert message. Alert. Let's say that this is LWC. This is sample LWC component. Sample LWC component. Sample LWC component. That's it. I'm done with component. What I have done, I have implemented a button. On click of this button, I'm showing a alert message. Now, LWC implementing in the Visual Studio is completed. Now you have to deploy this LWC component to the Salesforce. Whenever you want to deploy the component to the Salesforce, just cross-verify your package.xml. Your package.xml, because in case if you want to retrieve or if you wanted to push everything through the package.xml, LWC components are pushed through the package.com. The name is Lightning Component Bundle. It's a package which is Lightning Component Bundle. Now, if you directly click on here and if you say deploy source in manifest to org, okay. Now, if you do not have this type, your LWC components will not be pushed to the Salesforce, right? So that is on the package.xml. Now I'll go back to the LWC component. Now I'll click on this LWC underscore template. Now I'll say deploy source to org. Deploy source to org. What is it? Failing CSS. Cannot be empty. Okay. So let me delete this from the project. Yes. Now the CSS is gone. So whenever you are adding the CSS, it has to have some content in the CSS. Okay. Now let me close this. Now right click, deploy source to org. Now it has executed. Now you see here, it created the HTML, template, and it created the module, it created the target. Now inside the target, we have not specified anything. Okay. Now here in the target, we have a certain options here. Is exposed. Now let me show you this. Now, okay. Now we have deployed the LWC component to the Salesforce. Now where can I see that LWC component? Where can I see that LWC component? Developer console, copy. Now, I cannot view the LWC component here. Now, how do I know that whether the LWC component is already pushed to the Salesforce or not? How do I know whether it is already pushed to the Salesforce or not? Go to the setup. In the setup, do you see anything called Lightning Web Component? Do you see anything? Search here Lightning. When you search Lightning, you can see Lightning component here, but do you see Lightning Web Component? No, we cannot see Lightning Web Component. Only option I can see is Lightning Component. Now, if I click on this debug mode, Lightning Components, I can view all the Lightning components here. Then where is the LWC? Where is the LWC? LWC also sits into the Lightning component. LWC also sits into the Lightning component. There is no separate option for the Lightning Web component. Whether it is a web component, whether it is a Aura, whether it is an application, whether it is an event, whatever you are creating in the Lightning, everything sits into the Lightning component. How can you identify? By looking at the type. Wherever the type says Aura, it's an Aura component. Wherever the type says LWC, it's a LWC component. And right, so that is the LWC component. Everything sits into the Lightning component. So the Lightning component framework has two development models. Aura is the original model and LWC is the newer model. That means they are saying that this particular option, what are the option do you see? It is a combination of Aura and LWC. Now, if you open this LWC component, now I cannot view anything here. I cannot view anything here. Okay. It will show you that is there any dependencies on this. In case if you are using a multiple component like a parent component and child component, grandchild component, like that, if you are using it, if there is any dependencies on the object level, Apex side, what are the dependencies are there? You can search here. You can specify the LWC component here and you can search it. But right now we do not have anything, so we will not find anything. Now what I'll do is I'll copy this LWC component, copy, go to the developer console. Let me open the start.app. So we have so far implemented the these many applications we have implemented, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use LWC component here. I'm going to use the LWC component. I'm going to use the LWC component. Click on preview. Right. When you click on a preview, what is happening here is, if you look at on top, it says Aura. It says Aura. But actually, we are doing the LWC component. We are actually doing the LWC component. We are actually doing the LWC component. Deploy this source to org. LWC component, I am doing it, but on top, it still says Aura. Okay, that is the issue is there. So you need not to worry about it. That's not going to harm anything. Now let's click on submit. When I click on a submit, it says that this is a sample LWC component. Says it's a LWC sample LWC component. It is working fine when I'm using in the application. When I'm calling the LWC component in the application, it is working perfectly fine. Now let's assume that I wanted to place that component on the patient's record. I wanted to place that component here. Now, edit page. It will take you to the Lightning Builder, Flexi pages. So in the Lightning Builder, I'm trying to find LWC component. So my LWC component name is LWC underscore template. Now let me search here LWC. Am I able to see here? I cannot see. I cannot see this, right? So because I did not mention in the LWC component while implementing it, I did not mention anything. Where should it be displayed? Whether this LWC component can be accessed in the app page, whether this LWC component can be accessed in the record page. I did not mention it. Where do I need to mention it? Here I do not. I need to mention. The first thing you need to specify is exposed equal to true. First say this, because it has to be exposed. Now we have a tag called targets. We have a tag called targets. Within the targets, we have another target. Automatically Lightning Visual Studio is showing me this. As soon as I type target, it is giving me the why it is not giving. So target. So here I have a few options. For example, I wanted to place app on the app. Okay. Also, I wanted to place on the home page. Also, I wanted to place it on the record page. Instead of this, what I'll do is Lightning home page, Lightning record page. Save.
I mean, this is just like an interface, right? Like
yeah,
how we
it's
use
like
in Aura component.
Yes.
Okay.
Now I have mentioned the targets. Within that, each target I have mentioned. Now let me deploy this. Right click. Let me deploy complete. Deploy source to org. Now I have done with the deployment. Now let's go ahead and check in the page. Now let me refresh. Now I'm searching the component LWC underscore template. Now I can see the template. Place it here. Right, this is my template. Click on save. Activation, desktop or phone, click on save. Now let me go back to the patient's record. Now I can see the LWC component. If I click on a button, it will give me the alert. If I click on a button, it is giving me this is a sample LWC component. This is perfectly fine, right? Now let's assume that. Now on click of the button, I'm showing the alert message, which is a simple straightforward. Now what I'll do is, instead of showing a alert message, I wanted to set an attribute. I wanted to set an attribute, that means declare an attribute in the JavaScript, pass the value from the JavaScript and display the value here. That means within this lightning card, okay, I wanted to display the name. Assume that I wanted to display the name. This is the attribute. This is the attribute. So now this attribute, I'll take this. No, this is a private property. This is private property. For private property, need not to declare specifically for the Aura colon attribute or @API name. I do not need it. I do not need it. It doesn't require. So what I can do is I can go to the JavaScript. Okay. Whenever the component is loaded, whenever the component is loaded, I wanted to display the data Swapna Salesforce. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm passing the value from JavaScript to the HTML. I'm passing the value from JavaScript to HTML. Now, there is nowhere declaration. If it is a private property, nowhere of a declaration, not required any declaration. So directly you can say that directly name equal to this. No need of decorator here. You do not need any decorator. Directly you say name equal to Swapna Salesforce. That means which comes here as a declaration as well as the initialization. Declaration as well, initialization as well as the assigning the value. As well as the assigning the value. Both of them I'm doing at the same time. Now, if I deploy this component, right click, deploy source to org. Now it is deployed perfectly fine. Now let's refresh. On whenever it is loaded, by default, it is showing the name equal to what are the name that we are passing it from the what are the name that we are passing it from the LWC JavaScript, right? Name equal to Swapna Salesforce. Passing the data as well as assigning the data. Now let's suppose on click of this button, I wanted to change the value of name. Now during the initialization, I have given here Swapna Salesforce. Now whenever I click on a button, I wanted to change the value. That means I wanted to assign the new value. So if I wanted to assign the new value, copy this, and let's say this time I wanted to use let's say I wanted to give it as a new Swapna Salesforce. Now, if I'm giving like this name, what it is saying that it is by default strike is coming. That means you cannot use it. That is not the right way to use it. It is deprecated. This is not right the way to use it. If you want to assign a value here, you need to go with the proper way of declaration. So that means component.set, I'm assigning the new value. That means I am going to use this dot name. Now let's click on save. Right click, deploy, source to org. Now during the initialization, I'm giving a Swapna Salesforce. Whenever I click on a button, it is changing to the new Swapna Salesforce. Now refresh. Now let's click on a button. Now let's give here. Now it is coming as a new Swapna Salesforce. Initially, it is a Swapna Salesforce. On click of the button, it is giving me the new value. Right, that's how I pass it. If you specify this @API, @API, now right click on this. Is there any harm if I use @API? Now refresh. You will not see any harm, but the way of coding is incorrect. Because this name is only used local. That name is used only in the local, that means in the same component. Nowhere we are not using anywhere. Just I'm passing the data from here to the component. It doesn't tell you that, it doesn't give you any error during the user interface. Whatever the customer is performing the action on the user interface, it does not tell you there is an error. But if somebody look at your code, the first question they will ask you is, why did you use the @API here? What is the purpose of it? Right? If you are a company architect, or maybe during the interview, they will use some sample code here, and they will say, what do you know what is the wrong in the code here? Or do you know why I'm using the @API? What is the reason that I'm using the @API? Right? This question can come up. There is no point of using this API here, the decorator here. There is no point of using the decorator here, because this particular variable or this particular attribute is just needed locally. That means it's a private property. Nobody else is going to call this attribute. Nobody else is going to call this property. Right now, during the initialization, I'm assigning the value. Also, on click of the button, I'm assigning the new value. Let's say I wanted to let the user enter the name. So I'm going to use the lightning input. So in the lightning input, I have a few attributes like a label. Let's say employee name. Now this is my lightning input. Whenever the user is typing the name, automatically I wanted to display here. Automatically I wanted to display here. For example, if I'm typing SWAPNA, then it should display SWAPNA. As I'm typing the letters, this should be displayed the letters. If you want that scenario to be happen, then what you can do is on change. Let's say that handle change. Handle change. Now what I'll do is I'll use this handle. There is no double quotes. On handle change, let me go to the JavaScript. Here, I'll be writing the another method. I'll be writing another method. So here, this method is also have only one parameter. Now, when the user is keep on typing there, I wanted to assign the value to the, whatever the user has entered, that value I wanted to assign it to the attribute or the property, this dot name. Instead of hard coding, whatever the user has entered, how can I get whatever the user has entered? I can get it through the event dot target dot value. Event dot target dot value. Now click on save. Now let's deploy.
Ma'am, it's target actually.
Target. Deploy. Let me refresh this. Now, I have a Swapna Salesforce here. If I say, I'm still, right? See here, whatever I'm typing here, everything, if I delete it, it is gone. If I say chat GPT, as I'm keep on typing, above the text is displaying. If I say different, like a CPQ, if I say lightning, whatever I'm typing it, everything is updating here. And as soon as I click on a submit button, the name is going to change. Because on click on submit, I'm assigning the new Salesforce, new Swapna Salesforce. Now if I type it here, now see, it is coming. Now if I click on submit, it is there. Now if I again type some value here, it is coming.
Ma'am,
Right?
if you have multiple inputs also, we are giving some,
Yes.
or giving the same thing, event.target.value.
When we have
Yeah.
multiple inputs, we will see how to do that. Okay, there is a, because here I'm not specifying the input here. Basically, assume that I have a different input. Okay, in that case, how can the system will understand this is my first input value, this is my second input value, this is my third input value. For that, we need to change a little bit code here. We will see that next session.
Okay. And one more thing, we are giving the already given the icon name, right? But it is not showing.
Icon name is not showing. Icon name standard colon account. Why it is not showing? Inspect. It takes some time, see, usually.
Ma'am, I didn't understand like what's the working of event.target.value. Like as you said, like in Aura component, we will be using like a component.get, right? For that way, we are using event.target.value. Like here, what will be the working? How the working is? I didn't understand that.
Okay. So here, how do you get in Aura? What are the user has entered? How do you get it? Even for on change also Aura, how do you get it? You get component.find and what are the Aura ID is there? That Aura ID dot value for on change. If it is a value, how do you get the value from the input text? How do you get the value from the input text?
Component.get.
Component.get. So whatever the user has entered, you wanted to get. Okay. Now, in case after entering the data, in case while the user is entering the data, how you will be getting the in Aura? while user is entering the data here, you wanted to get, as they are entering, I wanted to get the information and show it here. How do you get it? Like we have implemented the calculator. Okay, we have implemented a calculator. As the user is clicking on the button, it is typing here. How did we do that? What are the buttons? There are multiple buttons are there, like 1, 2 till 0 button is there. As user is entering some data here, the data is displaying here. How we used to do that?
Event.target.value.
That is in the LWC, but in
B dot attribute name.
first you have to find out what is this component, right? Component dot find and check which component they have clicked on it. And how you will do it? Component dot find Aura ID. Based on the Aura ID, you get the value of that and then display it here. Similarly, whatever the user is typing here, if you wanted to capture the letters, whatever the user is typing it, if you wanted to get that information in the LWC, we use event. Event is at the high level. So you have an event at the high level. In the event, one option, this is the event level, one child is having his target. So for this target, you are going to get the value. You are getting the value. Event has a multiple things are there, multiple components are there within the event. But in order to get the specific input field, if you have only one input field here, if you wanted to get the information whatever the user has entered, you need to drive through the parent is an event. Within the event, we have a multiple child components. In that, we have to use a target is the child. For that target, you need to get the value. It is similar like a component dot find that particular component and get the value. Clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Swapna, can you please explain why we should not use the @API and
@API is for public property.
public? Yes.
For example, if you have a multiple components, like you have a child component and a parent component, right? Parent components are there. Okay, so there are one parent, two child components are there. Now you are passing the data from parent to child. You are passing the data from parent to child. So in that case, how can you pass it? If it is a private property, will you able to pass it?
No.
No. So I need to declare some property as a public, so that I can pass the data, or somebody else also can pass the data here. Somebody else also can pass the data here.
Okay. So @API we usually use for passing the data from parent to child, right? Otherwise, no need to use @API.
No need to use it. Okay. It's not only the parent to child, like if you want to pass it any other component, or if you want to use that property anywhere. Why it is not showing the standard :account? Something is wrong here. STAND standard account. Okay, so let me see this utilities. icon. So inside the utility, let me take something custom.
Swapna, we have to use everything small case. Correct that.
Sorry.
Everything in small case we should give. Account instead of capital is small.
Did I use capital? Oh, okay. Let me try.
You deployed? Did you deploy?
Oh. Yeah. So let's deploy. Okay. Yeah. So small letters. Fine. So if you use capital, it will not work. So that is the another example.
Can you just say that like you have declared name, right? Name colon flower bracket name, like what that exactly? Can you repeat once?
So this is like an attribute. Like if you want to display the attribute v dot name. In Aura, you do this, right? Like in Aura, if you want to display name equal to curly braces exclamation v dot name.
Yes.
So instead of that, what I'm doing is I'm just displaying the curly braces name.
Okay.
And the declaration of this, like initialization, we do not have an attribute. Aura colon attribute is not there. How I'm doing that instead of aura colon attribute, this is how I'm declaring it. During the declaration, I'm assigning it.
But that declaration should be in .html, right?
That is in the Aura. In LWC, all the attributes should be declared in the JavaScript.
Okay. I'm just confusing in that. Okay.
So
So every attribute and every variables need to declare in .js only, like in module.
Yes, in module we have to declare it.
Okay.
Swapna,
Yeah.
as a best practice, okay, like in Aura we have something called controller and helper, isn't it? So can we have such segregations here? Like suppose I have LWC underscore template.js, I can have LWC underscore template underscore helper.js, and then I export that helper and I import it in the template.js. Is that possible?
So this module is combination of JavaScript and the helper and re-render. Everything we can implement here. You cannot create. Basically, this module is whatever the logic you write in the JavaScript controller in the Aura, whatever the logic you write in the helper, whatever the logic you write in the re-render, everything can be done in the same.
Okay, so we can't create extra files here for
No,
by
only
ourselves.
CSS. If you want to create only CSS, you can create it. No other than that.
Okay.
Okay. Any other confusion, questions?
Ma'am, like this dot name in submit.
Okay. Now let me give you the overview. Now this is my HTML. This is my module. This is .html. And this is module. Okay. Now the logic that I'm going to implement within this is And usually if I wanted to display whatever the user has entered, like user entered some data. User entered some data here. Okay. Now, whatever the user entered, I'll display that data. And also I'll click on a submit button. Now I have three things. User entered is nothing but input field. This is an input field. This is input field. That is an input field. Then the display is nothing but I'm directly displaying the value. I'm directly displaying the value. Like what are the usually I'm directly printing the value. Submit is the button. Submit is the button, which is a lightning button. Now I need one variable here. Okay, I need a one variable because to display the data, what I'm doing is, assume that I'm just displaying the data. Now, for this displaying the data, I'm not accepting from the user. Okay, I'm hard coding the value here. I am hard coding the value. That means here what I'm doing is I'm saying that ACC name, display the ACC name. What is the ACC name? I'm hard coding it. Somewhere I'm hard coding it. So assume that ACC name is Salesforce. ACC name is Salesforce. Whatever the hard coded value is there that I wanted to display on the HTML. I wanted to display in HTML. So this display part, in order to display this, first I need to declare an attribute, right? I need to declare the attribute because based on the attribute only, I'm bringing the data here. So usually what I'll do, I'll declare an attribute and I'll display that attribute value inside the HTML. This is what we do it. Now in the LWC, what are the declaration of the attributes are there? I'll do it in the module. What are the declaration are there? I'll do it in the module. Once I declare it, once I declare the data, then I'm going to display that value here. Display the value here. That means during the declaration, I'm saying here ACC name. ACC name equal to ACC name equal to Salesforce. Now what it is going to display here? It will simply display the Salesforce. It will simply display the Salesforce. It will simply display the Salesforce. Now how I am printing the value of the attribute? In order to print the value of the attribute, I am using the command curly braces ACC name. ACC name. Assume that all are small. ACC name. I'm printing the ACC name. ACC name, I'm printing it. So by using the curly braces ACC name, if I give in the HTML, that will display the value here. Till this point, is it clear? Declaring in the module and displaying the data in HTML. We do not do any declaration in the HTML. Till this point, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, in the HTML, I have a button. In the HTML, I have a button. Assume that this button is a submit button. When I click on a submit button, I'm calling a method. I'm calling a method. Method is sitting in the module. Method is sitting in the module. Assume that I'm calling a method called handle submit. Handle submit. Now, For the methods, default property is event. For every method, default property is event. Now, whenever user click on a submit, I wanted to change the value of this attribute. I wanted to change the value of this attribute. If I wanted to change the value of this attribute, basically what I need to do, I need to access this attribute within this. I need to access this attribute within this. That means I need to use this attribute, take this attribute and set the new value to this, right? So in order to bring this here, that means component.set in the attribute, in the Aura, component.set. By using the component.set, what I'll do, I can assign the new value. I can assign the new value, component.set. I'll give here what are the v.acc name, comma, and say S1. Like this, we are using it, right? Like this, we are doing it. Now,
Yes.
Now, in the LWC, what I'll do is, we do not have a components in the LWC. Gone. If the component is gone, within that, I cannot use the set method. Set method, I cannot use it. Component is a class, set is a method. Component is a class dot method, component dot set method. So component is not there in the LWC, so I cannot use the even set method also. Now, how can I do that? Now, this method is not there. Now, when this method is not there, so definitely we do not have it. In order to call the attribute, I cannot use the V here in the LWC. Now, what I'll do is, for that component dot set, I use this dot. Behind this dot, it's a component dot set. Assume that. Behind this dot, it's a behind this dot ACC name equal to, let's assume that I'm giving a Swapna here. I'm giving a Swapna. Now, this dot ACC name, that means behind the logic, behind this logic, behind this dot, what is there? It is telling that, okay, this is the attribute. This attribute exists within this. This attribute is exists within this, and it is a variable. Assign the value to this variable. Assign the value to this variable. So as soon as the user click on the submit button, what will happen is the latest value, because I'm doing the this dot ACC name equal to Swapna. Now what will happen? Salesforce will go away and it will print Swapna here. It will print Swapna. Now, this is till this point, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the next step is, instead of hard coding the value in module, what I am doing is I'm extending the logic here. I am extending the user interface. So what I'm extending here, instead of hard coding it, I'm asking the user to enter the input value. I'm asking the user to enter the input value. Let's assume that this is the first name. I'm asking the user to enter the input value. Now, whenever the user enter here, right? For example, user enter GPT. Whenever the user enter here, I need to capture that value. I need to capture that value. As the user is entering it, I wanted to capture the value. For that, in order to capture the value, in order to get the value, whatever the user has entered, in order to get the value, whatever the user has entered, for that, what I am using is, in the event, right? In the event is a top hierarchy. In the event, we have one of the component called target. Within this, we have a value. By using this, what I am doing is I am getting the value. I'm getting the value, whatever the user has entered here, getting the value here. And this value I'm storing into this this.acc name. That means this.acc name equal to event.target.value. Target.value. Now I can display, basically whenever I'm updating the new value here, automatically this whatever the Swapna is there, it will go away and it will display the GPT. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody who is not clear still? Jay, are you clear? Your first time attending?
Yes. Yeah, this is my first time. I'm clear.
How about others? Sri Lakshmi, Ram Gopal, Bharati.
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay. Now homework. Implement a LWC component. Implement LWC component where the user is entering the first name, last name, email. That means on the UI, you have a 3 inputs. You have you have only one input because I did not cover that. Okay, you have only one input, which is like a first name. First name. Now, as the user is typing the name, I wanted to show that output in the UI. I wanted to show that output in the UI. So name equal to first name. Name equal to first name. There is no button here, no submit button. We do not have any submit button. As user is entering the data here, display the name output. What are the user entered name is there, display that. And place that component on the account object, account record. So go to the account. If I go to the account record, click on this, any of the account record, and display that value here. The LWC component, place it on the account record. Now, so far we have seen the LWC, Aura versus LWC code in Aura versus LWC, LWC components, and decorators. And LWC JavaScript we have seen. That's all for today.